Hello and welcome to my channel. This is my IKEA flip challenge video. The challenge is sponsored by Furniture Flipping for Profit. If you haven't seen any of Cynthia's videos, please check out her channel. The link is in the description below. Like and subscribe. She's got loads of great videos. Okay, as for the challenge, we had to get an IKEA dresser or chest of drawers, either new or second-hand, and turn it into something pretty. There are quite a few of us participating, so make sure you check the playlist in the description and vote for the one of us you think did the best job. Bear with me till the end, please, and I'll tell you how you can vote. Let's get into flipping! And this is me. This piece comes from my own bedroom, and I thought that it will be perfect for the makeover. The obvious thing to do at the beginning is to clean the piece properly with dish soap and water, and then rinse it with a damp cloth that has got only water on it, just to make sure that no residue of anything is there. Obviously, I've had constant control of the quality of my work. As you can see here, every move, every stroke was carefully inspected. Yeah, but let's get back to flipping. Okay, so yeah, the whole piece and the drawers and everything was thoroughly cleaned. The next thing was removing the hardware. What I normally do with the hardware is to put the screws back into the hardware so I don't have to look for them later on. So you can see here. And I removed the rails. Put the screws as you've seen in a cap. Again, not to lose any of them. And I decided to remove these as well to help me paint the whole piece easier. So I'm removing the rails from the inside of the cabinet as well. And sanding. 240 grit sandpaper. I'm just scuff sanding here. I'm not trying to get to the bare wood, which is not there anyway. But what I'm trying to do here is to get rid of the sheen so my paint can stick to the piece very well. And yeah, using chopsticks again. Hip hip hooray, I'm the chopsticks lady. You can't see it very well, but there are grooves. Well, okay, you can see it very well now. There are grooves there on each side of the chest of drawers. And well, chopsticks was the best way to scuff sand there. And obviously cleaning everything again of the dust. Again, I don't want that in my paint. Because I decided on changing the hardware, I decided to use the two-part epoxy. You can see it that it's kind of like Play-Doh. It's two-part. It's brown on the outside, white on the inside. You just need to mix it. And when everything is of one even color, you can use it to fill in the holes. It dries very hard. What I'm doing here, because this is not wood, I was trying to make sure that it's nicely pushed inside and I don't have any excess because it's hard to sand. And then on to priming. I use water-based primer. I put just one coat, that was enough for me. And I left the coat, I left the primer to dry overnight. And this is my design of the stencil I am going to put on my piece. Okay, I'm not going to be doing a normal stencil. So with paint, I'm going to do what's called a raised stencil. That means I am going to be using a special paste. Here you can see it is by Amélie Praguel. Okay, so it's stencil paste. that is going to help me create what's called a raised stencil. Means that the stencil, my design, is going to be elevated from the surface of the dresser. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just making sure that all the parts there, the components are very well mixed. And I am going to apply it very gently with a spatula on the stencil. Recommendations when you do this kind of work. First, obviously, what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that my design is laid in the way I want it to be laid, so the direction of the stencil and everything. And then another thing you need to do is to make sure that you use tape to keep your stencil in place. Okay, that's gonna move a lot. This is a raised stencil. It's gonna get messy. So I find this super important. The process is just as messy as doing a normal stencil with paint. So I find preparation super important, so everything goes well and smooth. Another tip I can give you, so after using the stencil for the first time, in your project, whenever I make it covered with paste or paint or whatever, I wash it before the next round. Why do I do that? Well, I do it because I don't want any of the leftovers mess up all the work I'm doing. So if you would like some advice on it, I would recommend cleaning that stencil after each use. Okay. Again, because that can help you protect your design and not to have it destroyed. And another thing I could tell you is I'm using a metal spatula, but I do recommend plastic or wooden one. Stencils are quite delicate, so it's pretty easy when you drag the paste over your stencil. It's very easy to break the stencil. So if it's the first time you're doing it, please be very gentle and use plastic or wooden spatula. It's just to save you any problems with the broken stencil. As you can see, I'm collecting all the leftovers from here. I want to spare it, and I don't want this to be wasted. And that means also less sanding for me later on. Here I'm taking it up just to have a look if everything is okay with the design, nothing is broken. Just gonna show you in a second how it looks. Okay, this is how it looks wet. You see it's not very even in terms of height, but that's not a problem. And here I am collecting and cleaning all the parts that I don't want to be on my design. Again, I'm using a metal spatula here, so if you decide to do the same thing, again, you need to be super gentle. You can see I scratched the primer a bit there, so I'll have to put it on again. And here we go, old white Rust-Oleum, and I'm testing a new brush here. Okay, this is a flat angular brush. I heard someone saying it's pretty nice, so I decided, okay, let's give it a go. And I need to tell you that that particular brushing, well, I wasn't impressed, and I wasn't very comfy with the brush. But well, let's not rush it. Okay, I'm gonna give it a couple of tries, and we'll see how I feel about it later on. And just to spare me, to save me some time, I decided to paint with old white whatever other part of the dresser that was available to me while waiting until the stencil dries, because it took it around 2 hours to dry. For all the difficult places, I used the brush, obviously. Okay, so before you guys in terror, my fingers are nowhere near the blade, okay? You don't have to worry about it. Okay, so this little black box helps me cut 45 degrees angles, because you can see I'm trying to make a frame. Now, make sure that before you cut anything, you know which part you're cutting and where exactly and what angle it's supposed to be, okay? So it fits like this, because I wanted to frame, it had to fit like this. Okay, so that part of the stencil was dry. So what I'm doing here, I'm putting the stencil back on one part of the raised stencil so I can preserve the same design. And I'm fixing anything that it has to be fixed, if there is anything, I mean. And then I am going to move that stencil, put it on the side, and to continue with the design, because I wanted I wanted this design to be spread very well in the whole corner of the dresser. So here I'm just making sure that the part I wanted correction to be done, it's done. Cleaning the excess. And here you can see that I placed the design next to, part is overlapping and part is on the other side, just to help me make the design, spread the design and do it in exactly the same way. And again, I'm applying the stencil paste, wherever I thought the design should be. And here we go, voila. And the same thing on the other side. Again, making sure that it lays well with it matches the previous design I've done, and then adding more paste to continue with the design. Okie dokie. And here is I'm ready for their ocean gray. And here is Monto chalk paint that was mixed for me. Okay, this is this kind of grayish, bluish, purplish color. And what I'm having a look at is whether this color really matches the color of the wood I got, and I decided that it was just tiny bit too light. So that's why I decided that I have to mix these two colors. I need to make the lighter one a little bit more dark. So in this case, this is my custom made color. And here I'm brushing it on. So I'm giving the new brush another go, and it was a lot better. I guess this kind of brush doesn't do very well on very narrow spaces. It was pretty okay, but I still had to kind of get to using this particular brush, and brushing it on, the first coat on this particular door wasn't very nice. This is what the first coat looks like normally. Okay, so don't worry if this is your first time doing it. Don't expect full coverage. You'll probably have to put 2, maybe 3 coats of paint anyway. So just, take it easy. This is nothing to worry about. And I'm smoothing the paint out, so I don't have it very messy. And here, because I was still pretty uncomfortable with the new brush, I went back to my old brush just to speed up the process. And here we are. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm sanding, cleaning the dust, and cleaning the dust with a damp cloth so I can paint over the stencil. I'm using here old white. Okay, so pretty much the whole chest of drawers is in old white, except for the part you've already seen that is in this bluish grayish color. Okay, this is how the stencil looks like after the first coat of paint. Okay, you can still see you can still see that, well, at least one more coat is needed. And this is the first coat of paint that is drying here on the drawers. You can see that this is not covered very well. Okay, this is the second coat that is still wet, and I'm starting liking the brush. And now here is the part that I think for me was the most difficult, because I had to put my frame on the drawers. I had to make sure that everything fits very well, all the imperfections, where the angles were not too good or things like that. I had to make sure that all the bits that were not good have to be sanded. So you can see me here adjusting the frame. I'm also sanding the bottom part of the frame just to make sure that the glue would stick better to all that. As you can see, it's a totally tedious process, and it took me ages, like really ages, to put all that in place and make it fit. That was absolutely the most tedious part, definitely. But yep, I learned quite a lot with this particular part. And I need to tell that was my very first time putting a frame on the piece, so I was pretty happy with the result. I need to say I was pretty happy with the result. And then before gluing the frame onto the drawers, I decided I'm gonna have a look at the drawer pulls. I wanted to make sure that it's in the right place, in the right position, and I thought that, well, I should drill the holes first to make the whole process um, of putting the new hardware easier. So I decided, okay, first thing, the hardware, the holes, and then I'll be gluing the frame on the drawers. As you can see me, I was measuring it very carefully, adjusting things. I even made a special template just to make sure that I know exactly where the holes on the hardware are. So when I got the center of the drawer, I could match it with the center on my template, and that would help me a lot with sorting out the hardware holes. I spent like ages on it as well. That was, I don't know for what reason, but that part, the measuring everything and checking everything was super hard, super tedious as well. But well, I think that in the end it was totally worth it. When the holes are done, I'm putting all the wooden parts of the frame. So just getting to the final bit of the process. The glue description said that, well, you need to press it for around 10 seconds. That's why I'm putting a piece and then I'm pressing it for around 10 seconds to make the glue stick. This is not a wood glue because I've got their paint and everything, so I wasn't sure if that's gonna stick to it. So I decided to go for like extra strong adhesive. I think it could be similar to what's called Gorilla Glue in the US, I think. But yeah, it was all-purpose glue, kind of like super glue thing that I'm using here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is our before and after. I absolutely love how it turned out. What do you guys think? Well, I hope you enjoyed the process. If you'd like to vote, follow Cynthia on Instagram, please, and give your vote in comments under the challenge post, please. As for the numbers, if you'd be interested in doing exactly the same process, you will need around 90 euros of a budget. The dresser didn't cost me anything because it was mine, but the paint, which is around 11.93, the primer, which 750 milliliters is 12.99. If you get a few brushes, just regular ones, the stencil paste, the stencil, varnish, 4 new handles, that's not very cheap, plus the wood for the frame, glue, all that would be around 90 euros if you would like to do it from scratch. Obviously for me it was a bit cheaper because I didn't use all the varnish or the primer or the paint or the stencil paste. Well, I'm saving that for another project, so obviously my cost is a little bit lower than that. But if you'd like to recreate my design from scratch without having anything, that would be the cost. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you feel that I deserve a subscription, please subscribe and like. That helps a lot my channel. Till the next time!